Welcome to our deep dive into the world of dreams.
Yes,
You've given us some excerpts from Sigmund Freud's The Interpretation of Dreams. And this book, it's a real mind bender.
it is.
It's dense, but trust me, it's worth the effort.
Oh, absolutely.
We're here to help you unpack some of the most important insights from this groundbreaking work.
Yeah.
It really completely changed how we think about our sleeping minds.
It's fascinating how Freud approached dreams in a way that really nobody else was doing back then.
Yeah.
He was a neurologist by training,
Right.
but instead of just dismissing dreams as meaningless,
Yeah.
he saw them as like a window into the unconscious,
Yeah.
that hidden part of our minds where desires and motivations are.
Right. So Freud's core argument is that dreams aren't just random images.
Mhm.
They're not just flashing through our minds. They're
Yes.
actually meaningful psychic structures.
Yeah.
Each one a disguised fulfillment of a wish
Yes.
that
Yeah.
we've pushed down or buried deep inside.
Exactly. He believed that even the most bizarre or nonsensical dream has a hidden message.
Wow.
A way for our unconscious to try and communicate with us.
So it's like our dreams are speaking a secret language.
Yes.
And we need to learn how to decode it.
Precisely. And like any good code breaker, we need to understand the rules of the game
Okay.
and the symbols at play.
Okay. I'm ready to crack the code.
Right.
Where do we even begin?
Well, you might be surprised to learn that Freud placed a lot of emphasis on the seemingly insignificant details in our dreams.
Really?
Yeah, he noticed that dreams often pull from this vast library of experiences, weaving together like trivial things that happened recently
Yeah.
with long-forgotten childhood memories.
Like that dream he had about a bottle of wine.
Yes.
Which ended up connecting to a happy memory of a trip he took with his brother,
Right.
who knew a simple bottle of wine could be so loaded with meaning.
It's a perfect example of how those little things, the ones we might usually overlook,
Yeah.
can actually hold the key to unlocking a dream's deeper meaning.
That's so interesting.
So here's a little challenge for you. Start paying attention to those seemingly unimportant details in your own dreams.
Okay.
You never know what they might reveal.
That's a great tip.
Yeah,
It makes you realize that every detail in a dream could be a clue.
it could be.
But what about those dreams that are downright unpleasant?
Yeah.
How do those fit into Freud's theory of wish fulfillment?
That's where things get really interesting. Freud argued that even those disturbing dreams are at their core attempts to fulfill wishes.
Okay.
The catch is that those wishes are often disguised in symbolic language because they might be unacceptable to us
Right.
in our waking lives.
I see.
Think of it this way. Your dreams are incredibly efficient storytellers.
Okay.
They can pack layers of meaning into a single image, allowing you to process complex emotions and experiences
Wow.
in a condensed form.
So like a dream about being chased by a monster could actually be about something completely different,
Right.
like the fear of failing at something important,
Yeah.
or even a hidden desire for more control in your life.
Exactly. The monster is just a symbol,
Yeah.
a stand-in for something else that's going on in your unconscious.
I see.
And understanding that symbolism is key to unlocking the dream's true meaning.
So Freud even used one of his own dreams as an example of this.
He did.
He dreamt that he was desperately thirsty and wanted a glass of water,
Right.
but when he finally got it, the water tasted salty.
Right.
It seems so simple, but it perfectly illustrates how even basic desires for comfort can play out in our dreams.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But then there are those dreams that are truly unsettling,
Yeah.
like dreams about the death of a loved one.
Oh, yeah.
Freud didn't shy away from these.
Okay.
He argued that even these can be traced back to childhood wishes and rivalries, illustrating the complex web of emotions
Wow.
in the unconscious mind.
That's pretty intense. So you're saying that even though those dreams can be disturbing,
Yeah.
they might not actually be about a literal wish for someone to die,
Right.
but rather a reflection of some unresolved feelings from childhood.
That's right. It's a stark reminder that the unconscious operates on a very different logic
Yeah.
than our conscious minds. It's not bound by the same rules of time or reason.
It's all starting to make a bit more sense now.
Good.
So we've got these hidden wishes bubbling up from our unconscious,
Yes.
but they get disguised before they reach our conscious minds.
Right.
That's where the idea of dream distortion and the censor comes in, right?
Absolutely. If we think about the bigger picture, it makes sense that our conscious minds, with all their moral and social rules,
Yeah.
wouldn't allow certain desires to surface directly.
Hmm.
So Freud proposed this idea of a censor within the mind
Okay.
that disguises those unacceptable wishes,
Yeah.
which explains why dreams often take on such strange and symbolic forms.
It's like our dreams are speaking in code.
Hmm.
using metaphors and symbols to communicate things that would be too difficult or painful to address directly.
Precisely. And Freud identified some common mechanisms that this dream sensor uses to disguise its messages.
Okay.
He called these dream mechanisms. And understanding them is crucial
Okay.
to unlocking the secrets of our dreams.
Okay, so what are these dream mechanisms?
Yeah.
How do they work?
One common mechanism is called displacement.
Yeah.
It's like when you focus on the color of a car in a dream,
Uh-huh.
when the real issue is actually the person who's driving it. It's a way of shifting emotional intensity from a significant element to something more trivial or neutral.
So it's a way of redirecting attention away from the truly sensitive subject matter?
Precisely.
Clutter.
Another key mechanism is called condensation.
Okay.
Think of it like dreaming of a single person who embodies characteristics of several people you know in waking life.
Uh-huh.
It's a way of combining multiple ideas or persons into a single dream image.
So it's like packing a lot of meaning into a single image, almost like a visual pun?
Exactly, and Freud had a great example of this in his book. He described a dream where a woman saw a disgusting old piano. What's interesting here is that through analysis, it turned out this piano wasn't just a piano.
Right.
It was actually a disguised expression of her resentment toward her friend's husband.
Wow.
Talk about layers of meaning.
That's amazing. It really shows how the dream work can take something seemingly simple and imbue it with all sorts of complex hidden meanings.
It really does.
But before we get too deep into how the dream work functions,
Sure.
let's talk about those dreams that we all seem to have.
Yeah.
Those recurring themes like flying, falling, teeth falling out, being naked in public.
Yes.
What's going on there?
These are what Freud called typical dreams.
Okay.
And he believed they're connected to underlying anxieties that we all share.
Right.
And often they have some element of sexual symbolism.
Okay, let's unpack that. What kind of anxieties and symbolism are we talking about here?
Take, for example, dreams of teeth falling out.
Yeah.
Freud often connected these to anxieties about aging, losing power, or even deeper fears stemming from childhood.
Wow.
Do you ever have these kinds of dreams?
I definitely have. It's always so unsettling.
It is unsettling, but it's also an opportunity to understand those deeper anxieties we all carry with us.
Yeah.
These typical dreams can have multiple interpretations.
Right.
And it's important to consider your personal context and associations when trying to understand them.
So it's not as simple as just looking up the meaning of a symbol in a dream dictionary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dream symbols can be incredibly personal. What a symbol means to one person might be completely different for another.
Right.
That's why understanding your individual experiences and associations is so crucial.
This is starting to feel like detective work, piecing together clues to solve a mystery.
That's a great way to think about it. Dream interpretation is all about uncovering those hidden connections
Uh-huh.
and understanding the language of the unconscious.
So to do that, we need to delve deeper into the concept of dream work.
We do.
Okay, so let's get into the dream work.
Right.
What exactly is it, and how does it transform these raw, unconscious desires into the dreams we experience?
Dream work is the term Freud used to describe the process by which latent dream thoughts,
Okay.
those hidden wishes and anxieties, are transformed into the manifest content, which is the dream as we experience it.
Okay.
It's like there's a whole production team behind the scenes
Yeah.
shaping and editing the dream before it hits the stage of our awareness.
So there's this whole hidden process going on, taking those raw desires and translating them into the language of dreams.
Exactly. And this dream work involves several key factors.
Okay.
We've already talked about condensation and displacement.
Yeah.
Those sneaky tricks the unconscious uses to package and disguise its messages.
Yeah.
But there's more to it than that.
Okay. I'm hooked. Tell me more about these other factors involved in the dream work.
Okay. Welcome back to our deep dive into this fascinating world of dreams.
Right. We learned about these clever tactics like condensation and displacement.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much effort our unconscious minds put into packaging these messages so we can actually handle them.
And there are even more layers to this dream work that we need to explore.
Okay.
Like Freud also talked about something called regard for representability.
Okay.
Think of it this way. Dreams don't speak in abstract ideas. They speak in pictures, sounds, feelings, a full-blown sensory experience.
So it's like the unconscious is a master filmmaker, turning those abstract ideas into something we can actually see and feel in our dreams.
That's a great way to put it. And this need to represent things visually often leads to some pretty creative even bizarre imagery.
Yeah.
I mean, after all, how do you visually represent something like guilt, anxiety, or desire?
That's a good question. I guess that's where dream symbols come in.
Exactly. Symbols are the bread and butter of dream work.
Okay.
They allow the unconscious to express things that might be too difficult or uncomfortable to face directly.
Right.
And the range of symbols is vast. Anything can be a symbol in a dream.
Wow.
Objects, people, actions, even places.
So it's not just about those typical dreams we talked about, like flying or falling. Any element in a dream could be a symbol pointing to something deeper.
Precisely. And to understand what those symbols mean, we need to think like detectives. Remember that dream Freud analyzed where the woman saw a little house nestled between palaces?
Yeah, that one sounded pretty harmless at first.
Exactly. But by exploring the woman's personal associations, Freud helped her uncover a whole network of meanings related to her desire for a child and feelings of inadequacy compared to her friend.
That's
So
interesting.
that little house wasn't just a house, it was a symbol
Right.
representing her deepest desires and insecurities.
That's a great example.
Yeah.
It makes me think about how we shouldn't just dismiss those seemingly random details in our dreams.
You're getting it. And to make sense of all these dream elements,
Yeah.
there's one final stage of dream work that Freud called secondary revision.
Okay.
Think of it like your unconscious is a brilliant artist,
Yeah.
but sometimes the final product needs a little editing. Secondary revision is like that final layer of polish where the unconscious tries to create a coherent narrative out of all these symbols and images,
I see.
even if it means adding some extra details or smoothing over the rough edges.
So even with this secondary revision, our dreams still often end up feeling a little bizarre or illogical.
Exactly. It's because we're only seeing the final product, the edited version, not the raw footage
Okay.
from the unconscious. But even with that editing,
Yeah.
dreams offer us incredible insights into our inner world,
That's so cool.
especially those typical dreams we were talking about earlier.
Right, those common themes that seem to resonate with everyone, like flying, falling, being naked in public.
Yeah,
I'm curious to explore those a bit more. I feel like we've all had those dreams at some point.
absolutely. They're fascinating because they tap into these universal human anxieties.
Right.
And while they can be interpreted in many ways, Freud often connected them to deeper fears and desires,
Okay.
often rooted in our childhood experiences.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with flying dreams. I always thought those were just about wanting to feel free and adventurous.
That's definitely part of it.
Ah.
Freud saw flying dreams as representing a longing to escape limitations,
Yeah.
to rise above the challenges of everyday life. But remember, he also saw a sexual component to many dream symbols.
Oh, right, because everything always comes back to sex with Freud.
Well, he was definitely interested in how our sexual drives influence our unconscious minds.
Yeah.
In the case of flying dreams, he connected them to the physical sensation of erection
Okay.
and that feeling of soaring above earthly concerns.
So a dream about flying through the clouds could be about more than just wanting to go on vacation.
Right.
It could be tapping into deeper desires and anxieties
Mm.
that might be too difficult to face directly in waking life.
Exactly. And then there are those heart-stopping dreams about falling.
Ugh.
I don't know about you, but those always make me jolt awake, even if it's just a dream.
Me too. What did Freud say about those?
He viewed falling dreams as symbolic of losing control. That feeling of insecurity or fear of failure.
I see.
He often linked them to anxieties about social status, the fear of losing our footing in the world, so to speak.
So it's not just about the physical sensation of falling.
Right.
It's about feeling like we're losing our grip on something important in our lives.
Precisely. And that fear of losing control connects to another common dream, being naked in public.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever had one of those?
Oh, I think we've all been there. It's the classic nightmare scenario.
It is. And Freud interpreted these dreams as expressions of vulnerability and shame.
Yeah.
That fear of being exposed or judged by others.
Yeah.
He saw them as stemming from those early childhood experiences when we were literally naked and dependent on others for care.
So it's like a regression back to a time when we were more vulnerable and less able to protect ourselves from the scrutiny of others.
Exactly. And these dreams often tap into those social anxieties we all experience.
Right.
The fear of not measuring up or being seen as inadequate.
It's fascinating how these seemingly simple dream themes can be so rich with meaning.
They are. And what about those teeth falling out dreams? Those always freak me out.
Those are definitely unsettling. Freud often connected them to anxieties about aging, loss of vitality, or the fear of losing power, both literally and metaphorically.
Right.
So like feeling like we're losing our bite in the world.
Exactly. But of course, Freud also saw a sexual component to these dreams, connecting them to deeper fears and anxieties rooted in childhood.
Right, because for Freud, there's always another layer to uncover.
He was convinced that our early childhood experiences have a profound impact on our unconscious minds, shaping our desires and anxieties in ways we often don't realize.
It's mind-blowing to think that our dreams can offer us these glimpses into our deepest selves.
But remember, dream symbols are not one size fits all.
Right.
What a symbol means to you might be completely different for someone else.
Right.
That's why it's so important to explore your own personal associations, the unique web of meanings that each symbol holds for you.
So how do we even begin to unravel those personal meanings? It feels like we need a dream dictionary tailored to each individual.
Well, there's no magic dictionary.
Right.
But Freud did develop a technique called free association, which encourages you to let your mind wander freely, exploring the connections and memories that arise in relation to each dream element.
I see.
It's like following a trail of breadcrumbs, allowing your unconscious to lead you to the deeper meaning.
So instead of trying to impose our own interpretations, we need to let the dream speak to us in its own language.
Exactly. And remember, there's no one right interpretation. Dreams are like onions. They have layers. The meaning can unfold and change over time as you gain new insights and work through your experiences.
This exploration of dreams about death has been both fascinating and thought-provoking.
Yeah.
It makes me realize that even the most disturbing dreams can offer valuable clues to our unconscious motivations and unresolved emotional baggage.
They really can. And it highlights the remarkable power of the dream work. Its ability to transform those raw, often taboo desires and anxieties into a symbolic language that we can gradually begin to understand and integrate into our conscious lives.
It's amazing to think that we all have access to this incredible source of insight.
It is.
This nightly theater of the unconscious just waiting to be explored.
It is. And while Freud's theories have been influential, it's important to remember that his work has sparked countless debates and inspired generations of scholars to explore the mysteries of the unconscious in new and innovative ways.
So even though Freud laid the groundwork, there's still so much we're learning about the world of dreams.
Absolutely. And while not everyone agrees with all of his interpretations, Freud's contributions to the field of psychology are undeniable. His work has helped us to understand the power of the unconscious and the ways in which our past experiences continue to shape our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors.
This deep dive into Freud's ideas has been incredibly illuminating. It's given me a whole new perspective on my own dreams, and I'm excited to keep exploring.
That's wonderful to hear, and we encourage you to do just that. Continue to explore those dreams and see what insights they offer you.
Before we wrap up part 2, I'm curious to hear more about those dream mechanisms we were discussing earlier. I'm especially intrigued by the idea of dream distortion, how the sensor shapes and molds the dream content to make it more acceptable to our conscious minds.
That's a great topic for our next segment. Dream distortion is fascinating because it reveals just how clever our unconscious minds can be when it comes to protecting us from those uncomfortable truths that might be lurking beneath the surface.
It sounds like we're about to enter the world of dream espionage, where the unconscious is a master of disguise.
Exactly. Join us for part 3 as we delve deeper into the fascinating world of dream mechanisms. And uncover even more secrets of the dream work.
Welcome back, Dream Explorers. We're in the final stretch of our deep dive into Freud's The Interpretation of Dreams. We've covered so much ground already, from wish fulfillment and symbolism to those unsettling dreams about death.
It's been quite a journey into the unconscious mind. And remember those typical dreams we discussed, like flying or losing teeth? They might seem random, but Freud believed they offer us a glimpse into universal human anxieties, often rooted in our childhood experiences.
It's amazing how these seemingly commonplace dreams can reveal so much about us.
They can.
But before we wrap up, I'm really curious to dive deeper into those dream mechanisms we touched on earlier. Especially that idea of dream distortion, how our minds twist and reshape those unconscious desires to make them palatable to our conscious selves. It's like our dreams are playing hide and seek with our waking minds.
You hit the nail on the head. Dream distortion is fascinating because it shows just how resourceful our unconscious minds can be. It's like a master illusionist using smoke and mirrors to present those hidden desires in a way that won't completely freak us out.
So it's not just about hiding those desires, but also about protecting us from them.
Think of it this way. If all those raw, unfiltered desires from our unconscious just burst into our conscious minds, It would be overwhelming.
Right.
Dream distortion acts like a buffer, allowing us to process those emotions without feeling completely overwhelmed.
Okay, that makes sense. So, what are some of the techniques our minds use to pull off this incredible feat of dream distortion?
Sure.
We've already talked about condensation and displacement,
We have.
but I'm ready to learn more about how those work.
Let's start with condensation.
Yeah.
Imagine you have a big, complicated emotion like anger towards your boss,
Okay.
but you can't express it directly in your waking life.
Right.
In a dream, that anger might get condensed into a single image, like a traffic jam that's making you late for work.
So it's like taking this complex feeling and compressing it
Mhm.
into a symbolic representation.
Exactly, and condensation serves a couple of purposes. Allows our dreams to pack a lot of meaning into a single image.
Yeah.
And it helps to disguise the true source of those emotions, making them less threatening to our conscious minds.
It's like a mental shortcut, allowing us to process those big feelings without even realizing it.
Precisely. Now let's talk about displacement.
Okay.
Think about that anger towards your boss again, instead of confronting them directly in the dream.
Yeah.
You might find yourself yelling at a broken coffee machine or getting frustrated with a slow internet connection.
So it's like redirecting that anger onto something safer and less consequential. It's almost comical when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, take that coffee machine.
It is a bit funny when you put it that way, but it's a brilliant strategy
Yeah.
for protecting our conscious minds from those uncomfortable emotions. And it adds another layer of disguise, making it harder to trace those feelings back to their true source.
It's like our dreams are trying to protect us from ourselves, but how did these abstract emotions even make it into our dreams in the first place? We're
Yeah.
not just thinking in words while we sleep, right?
That's where regard for representability comes in. Our dreams can't just present us with abstract ideas.
Yeah.
They need to translate those ideas into something we can actually experience with our senses.
I see.
It's like the unconscious is a movie director, transforming those abstract thoughts and emotions into a visual spectacle.
So instead of just thinking about feeling guilty, we might see ourselves covered in mud or struggling to carry a heavy weight.
Exactly. And this need for visual representation often leads to some of the most creative and bizarre imagery in our dreams.
Yeah.
It's like our minds are forced to think outside the box, coming up with metaphors and visual puns
Right.
to express those complex emotions.
It's almost poetic, like I'm drowning in guilt becomes a dream of literally being underwater.
You're catching on. And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, symbolism.
Right.
We talked about the symbolism of those typical dreams,
Mm.
but symbols are everywhere in our dreams, acting like a secret code that we need to decipher.
Right, because those symbols can be incredibly personal, and what they mean to one person might be completely different for someone else. So how do we avoid misinterpreting those symbols?
That's where Freud's technique of free association comes in handy. Instead of trying to impose our own interpretations,
Yeah.
we need to let our minds wander freely, following those threads of association that connect the symbols to our personal experiences and memories.
It's like those connect the dots puzzles, where each dot represents a symbol, and we need to find the hidden image by connecting them in a meaningful way.
That's a great analogy, and remember, there's no one right interpretation. Dream symbols are like onions. They have layers.
Okay.
What a symbol means to you today might shift and change as you gain new insights and experiences in your waking life.
It's almost like our dreams are inviting us on an ongoing journey of self-discovery.
Exactly. And there's one final stage of dream distortion that helps to make sense of all those symbols and images. It's called secondary revision. Think of it as the editor coming in at the end of the film, trying to create a coherent storyline out of all the raw footage.
So even though our dreams often feel disjointed and illogical, there's a part of our mind that's trying to make sense of it all.
Precisely. Secondary revision tries to smooth out those rough edges and create a narrative that's at least somewhat palatable to our conscious minds. But even with that editing,
Yeah.
our dreams often retain that mysterious dreamlike quality that makes them so intriguing.
It's like our dreams are these cryptic messages from our unconscious, inviting us to decode them and discover those hidden parts of ourselves.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And while Freud's theories are just one perspective on the vast world of dreams,
Right?
they offer a powerful framework for understanding the language of the unconscious and the ways in which our past experiences continue to shape our present lives.
This deep dive into Freud's interpretation of dreams has been truly eye-opening. It's made me realize that our dreams aren't just random stories playing out in our minds while we sleep. They're a valuable source of insight, a window into our deepest desires, fears, and motivations.
I'm so glad to hear that. And remember, the next time you wake up from a strange or unsettling dream, don't just dismiss it. Instead, embrace the mystery. Grab your detective hat and see what secrets your unconscious might be trying to reveal.
It's like we've been given a key to unlock a whole new world within ourselves. And as Freud said, dreams are the royal road to the unconscious.
Beautifully put. So keep exploring those dreams, and who knows what incredible insights you might discover along the way.
That's a wrap on our deep dive into the world of dreams. We hope you've enjoyed the journey, and we encourage you to keep exploring the fascinating world of your own dreams. Until next time, happy dreaming.